Haribol. Today is the 4th of November, Monday, November, yes, 2024, and it's a very special day again, the Tirobhava of Srila Bhaktivedanta Vamana Maharaja and the Tirobhava of Srila Bhaktivedanta Trivikrama Maharaja. So we'll celebrate these two personalities today. But first we'll do our kirtan and then see how much time is left for Damodarastakam at the end. Namamishvaram Satchit Anandarupam Lasat Gudaram Goku Ebrajamanam Yashodadiyo Loka Ratavamanam Param Vristam Atyanta Durvijagogya Rudanta Mohul Netra Yugam Mrijantam Karam Bhojayopena Satakaletram Mohul Swasakam Patrirekhantakanta Stita Traivatamodam Bhaktivedanta Svalilahi Ananda Kunde Svaroshami Vajantam Atyapayantam Hare Nishikavyeshu Bhaktivedanta Puna Prematasam Shabda Vrittimande Param Deva Moksham Na Mokshamadimva Nakanyam Neha Varisharavira Idam Jaya Punyata Gopalabalam Saram Vimanasya Virastam Kimani Idam te mukham bhojam agyaptaniraye Rutam kundarai snigdha rakshascha bhojya Bhojchumbitam bimbaraktaram me Manasya vishrastavam rakshascha Namo Deva Damodarananta Vishnu Prasida Prabhu Dukha Jala Vinodam Kripa Vrishi Vrishyati Dinam Prasanu Grihani Sharma Madhya Edyaksha Atma Jovadya Mudai Vayadya Tvayam Mochito Bhakti Bhajototosha Tata Prema Bhakti Swakam Me Prayaksha Namo Shiro Nesti Damodare Namaste Sudani Spuradiktikande Vadiyodharayata Vishwasya Dhamne Namo Radhikaya Vadiyadriyaya Namo Vasarilaya Devaya Chudram Namo Radhikaya Vadiyadriyaya Radha Damodar Ju Ki Jai. Radha Govinda Ju Ki Jai. Nityananda Rai Ki Jai. Sachinandana Gauda Hari Ki Jai. Either on or off, but making a lot of noise. Jai Sachinandana Gauda Hari Ki Jai. Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om. Astautar Sarashishimad. Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om. Astautar Sarashishimad. Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om. Astautar Sarashishimad. Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Jagat Guru Nitya Lila Pravishta Om. Astautar Sarashishimad. Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Paramahamsa Mahabhagavat Srila Gaurikishoras Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Jai Saptam Goswami Srila Sachidananda Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai. Jai Vaishnav Sabhavama Jagannathas Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Jai Srila Baladevi Dibhushan Gaudiya Acharya ki jai. Jai Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur ki jai. Jai Narottam Srinivas Shyamananda Prabhu Treya ki jai. Jai Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami ki jai. Jai Shri Rup Sanatan Shipata Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Paradasa Raghunath Sad Goswami Prabhu's ki jai. Arupa Nuga Guru Varga ki jai. Jai Swarup Damodar Rai Ramananda Gaura Prasada ki jai. Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem Sika Holsi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Shri Gaura Bhaktivedanta ki jai. Shri Antadvip Mayapur Simantadvip Gautamdvip Madhyadvip Kauladvip Ritudvip Janadvip Mautamdvip Rudadvip Atmatkanavadvip Dham ki jai. Badravan Bandiravan Belvan Lohavan Mahavan Madhuvan Talvan Kamudvan Bahulavan Vrindavan Kadyavan Kamyavan Brajamandal ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopi Go Govardhan Dvarasavarmatmika Shri Brajamandal ki jai. Shri Radha Kund Shamakund Ganga Jamuna Devi Bhakti Devi Tulsi Devi Maharani ki jai. Shrimati Brinda Devi Maharani ki jai. Shrimati Yogamaya Punamasi Devi Maharani ki jai. Gopishwa Mahadev ki jai. Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sadasham Chakra ki jai. Ketra Mandal ki jai. Sarva Vigna Vinasakari Shina Shingadev Bhagavan ki jai. Bhakta Pravar Shri Prahlad Maharaj ki jai. Charidam ki jai. Chari Sampradaya ki jai. Chari Chari ki jai. Akara Matraj Shri Chaitanya Mat ki jai. Shri Keshavji Gaudiya Mat ki jai. Grantaraj Shrimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Ananta Kota Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Samagata Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Maybe you can go on slow, because when it was, a bit faster. When it was slow, it was clacking, but if it goes faster, it might not. Not mine, this one. Well, go faster then. Om Aginati Mirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarabhaktaya Namo Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Shtapitam Jina Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Shvapatantikam Priya Sarupe, Daita Sarupe, Prema Sarupe, Sahaja Virupe, Nijana Rupe, Prabhueka Rupe, Tatana Rupe, Swavilasa Rupe, Anapita Chirin Chirat Karunavarat Tinokala, Samarapaitam Unnata Ujvala Rasam Swabhakti Shriyam, Hari Purata Sundarata Tikatamba Satipita, Sada Hridare Kandare Spadatu Vasachinandanaha, Yam Pravajantam Anapetyam Apet Krityam, Dvaipayano Viraha Kadara Ajuhava Putreti Tammaya Tayo Taravo Binidustam Sarvabhutam Hridim Munimanatoshmi Bhaktiya Vihina Aparada Lakshay Shiptas Chakarmadi Tarangamadye Kripamayitvam Sharanam Prapana Brinde Namaste Charanarabindam Bhajami Radham Aravinda Netram Smarami Radham Madhurasmitasyam Vadami Radham Karuna Paradam Tato Mamanasti Katyana Kapi Tavai Vasmi Najivami Tvayivina Vignaya Rate Tvam Nayamam Sharanantikam. And first of all, offering millions and millions of Dandava Pranams unto the lotus feet of my most beloved Gurudev, Nitya Leela Pravishta Om, Astol Tadasada Shishimad, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering the same again millions and millions of times unto the lotus feet of our most beloved Nitya Leela Pravishta Om, Astol Tadasada Shishimad, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And today, in particular, to our most dear Bhaktivedanta Srila Vamana Maharaj and Srila Bhaktivedanta Srila Trivikrama Maharaj, and all our illustrious Rupanuga Guru Varga, and all the Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, my Dandavat pranams to all of you. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, Kripasindubhyevacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavena Namo. So today is a very special day when our most beloved Srila Bhaktivedanta Vamana Maharaja chose to leave this world. At that time, we were all engaged in Bhaktivedanta Trivikrama, in Kartik Parikrama at this time. And immediately my Gurudev arranged for himself and Madhav Maharaj to go across to Bengal, to Navadvip, and support the Samadhi festival that was about to take place. But we had all, in our Sangha at that time, become quite familiar with Srila Bhaktivedanta Vamana Maharaj. He would come from time to time to join our parikrama. But I was thinking this morning, how can we glorify adequately such a personality who has come from that other realm? It's like holding a candle to the sun in glorification. Really, it's impossible for us to express our gratitude for the support and the immense contribution that he made to this Gaudiya mission of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. Srila Bhaktivedanta Vamana Maharaj, he joined the mission when he was 8.5 years old. His mother, Bhagavati Devi Dasi, who was initiated by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. At that time, his name was Santosh Kumar. And he was brought by his mother, placed in the hands of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, who immediately placed him in the hands of Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj. And he, even though he was initiated, his Harinam was given to him by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he later became known as Sajjan Sevak. Sajjan Sevak. But he was always serving Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj. And they enrolled him in the Bhakti Vinod Institute, which is right next to the Yoga Pit there. And Bhakti Prem Pradeep Goswami was the headmaster of the school at that time. This must be in 1920 something, 29, late 20, maybe 31. And Santosh Kumar, or Sajjan Sevak, was very, very bright boy. His memory capacity was extreme. And Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj promised him a sweet every time he learnt a verse. So this was sufficient incentive for him to learn about 7 or 8 verses a day at a very young age. And he remembered those, he could recall all of those in his older, mature years. He was like a walking encyclopedia of Siddhanta and Tattva, absolutely. He just, any reference, he would know exactly where it was in the Shastra. So completely error, because from birth, he'd been trained by his mother, who was a disciple of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, in the etiquette and precepts of Vaishnava behavior. So he'd never transgressed in his life into sinful activity. So his mind was very powerful and strong. And coupled with that, he had a deep service attitude, and he would serve the Vaishnavas by putting out all their leaf plates, putting the salt and the lemon on them and so on. When he was just a young boy, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, he was doing this regularly. And then he would collect all the plates at the end and clean the floors and so on. And he would cook very brilliantly also, know how to cook and satisfy everybody. He could do all the necessary things that is required living in a mutt condition. And as he developed later on, his writing ability developed, and he would help in the Bhagavad Patrika, and he would write also extensive letters And many of these letters today have been published by our dear God brother Srivas Prabhu, who has collected and translated all these letters and made a beautiful book that was published last year. A True Servant and a True Master is the title of the book. Very, very beautiful, rich, full of powerful, every word he said was like Shabda Brahman practically. Every word he said was powerful because he had no interference in his consciousness. It was just all directly soaking in the instructions and teachings, principally of Srila Bhaktivedanta Keshav Maharaj, because in later years, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he left this world in 1937. So, what's the math you can do? How old would have, if he came at 8.5 to the Mutt, and he was still a young man, must have been about 20, 21 years old, when Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati left this world. And then we know the history, how the Gaudiya Mutt fell into quarrel and fighting and so on. And there was a time when Srila Bhaktivedanta Keshav Maharaj had been accused of murder. And him and 25 brahmacharis, they were all placed in the jail. And this was all part of the political ploy at that time. Of course, he didn't have anything to do with that. But this was the politics of the day, Bengali politics, very intense.
I was in 78, was big fight.
Yeah. Yeah.
And two group, all devotee arrest.
Yeah.
And put in Krishnagar jail or somebody Deep jail.
Yes.
And this is some judge giving one month jail.
Yeah.
Krishnagar jail we have 1 month.
1 month jail in Krishnanagar.
Many other people.
Yes. Our dear friend here, who looks after the guest house here, he was there, present in the Mutt at that time, and he's relating us in 1978, he was there seeing the history of them all being incarcerated in jail. These 25 devotees. And at that time, Sajjan Sevak was making the prasad, cooking, and bringing all the foodstuffs to everybody, but he didn't have Diksha. So Bhaktivedanta Keshav Maharaj gave him Diksha at that time so he could offer everything nicely and bring. But he was untiring in his service. He didn't stop his service for any reason whatsoever, and just fixed attention and focus on pleasing and serving the Vaishnavas. So this is the caliber of the devotees that would come to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. Very high grade of devotees. And later on, when Srila Bhaktivedanta Keshav Maharaj, after the disappearance of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, then Sajjan Sevak, he stayed with Srila Bhaktivedanta Keshav Maharaj and would travel with him all over India, doing much preaching work. And he would dictate Bhaktivedanta Keshav Maharaj's classes. And it's described that his writings were so sweet and perfect, they never needed any editing or proofing at all. They were always ready to be published immediately. And it's described that his handwriting was so beautiful to see, like pearls on a paper. So, but there was one time when when Sajjan Sevak, Srila Vamana Maharaja, became very, very sick. He had high fever, 104, 105 degrees. And many devotees, they came to the Mutt, and there was no one to cook. And Srila Bhaktivedanta Keshav Maharaj told him to get up and cook. He said, "Why are you lying in your bed? Get up, cook." And even though he had a really, really high fever, he got up and he cooked a whole prasadam for maybe 20, 30 devotees in that condition. His mood was just, he just put it aside and did it. Afterwards, of course, he collapsed, from the exertion. But he was that type of personality. And there was a time when he was working with the printing presses, and he cut the top of his fingers very badly on the printing press. Printing press is a huge iron machine, and it cut the tops of his fingers. And Srila Bhaktivedanta Keshav Maharaj personally took him to the hospital in Calcutta, and then they attended to him, and he recovered, simply enough. But his whole life was, he had thousands of disciples. In the Devananda Gaudiya Math today, there are thousands of Srila Vamana Maharaj disciples, so many. We would be there, and he would be sitting in Devananda Gaudiya Math in his room, and he would have a mosquito net across his bed, and he would just be sitting there upright in a very strong pose. And all the devotees would come in one door, offer pranam, and then go out the other door. They just come through all day long. They would be just coming through. And he wore these like horn-rimmed glasses, very thick glasses. And when you looked closely at the glasses, you could see the intensity of his gaze on everyone. He was really not from this world, absolutely not from this world at all. He was completely sent by Srimati Radhika to support Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati's mission, like in the second wave of his mission, more or less. Because later on, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj, he requested Srila Vamana Maharaj and Srila Trivikrama Maharaj and my Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj, to all take sannyas together. And all three of them refused. They didn't want sannyas. But then they were convinced later on that this is the deep desire of Srila Bhaktivedanta Keshav Maharaj, so you must follow that desire. So they all took sannyas together, and they became the three pillars, it's described, of the mission of Srila Bhaktivedanta Keshav Maharaj, the Gaudiya Vedanta Samiti. And this was inaugurated in 1941. And Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Abhay Charan, he was there at that inauguration. Maybe you were there also at that inauguration?
Very
Long time ago, yeah. But there was a big function. Yes. And these three sannyasis, they carried the current of the precepts of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati after the departure, particularly, of Srila Bhaktivedanta Keshav Maharaj in 1968. Srila Bhaktivedanta Keshav Maharaj left this world, and these three and it seemed like the whole mutt was going to fall apart. But these three personalities, because Srila Trivikrama Maharaj, he is a part of that trio, and he's also an exceptional personality. He's very educated. When he spoke English, his English was perfect like British English. No accent at all, practically, Srila Trivikrama Maharaj. And he was a musician. He played beautiful veena, but he left all of this behind. He was cultured, a very cultured personality, Srila Trivikrama Maharaj. And he decided that it was decided that amongst the three of them, that Srila Vamana Maharaj would initiate everybody. There would be no battle between the three of them. Only Srila Vamana Maharaj was going to do the initiations, give Diksha. That's why he has so many disciples, because Srila Vamana Maharaj did all the initiations. And Srila Trivikrama Maharaj, he did a lot of managing work and looked after the kirtan, made sure the pandals were up and everything, and did so much seva in that area, made sure everything was functioning. And my Gurudev was serving both of these people fully. These people, my Gurudev describes as his Shiksha Gurus. They were his Shiksha Gurus. Both. When my Gurudev came to the Math in, when was it? 1946, 47. He came from his home, and nobody knew he was coming. He had been in the police force, and he just left his job, and he'd secretly climbed out of his bedroom window and ran away from his home. And he brought one book with him. This Ramcharit Manas was the only book he bought. But when he arrived at the Navadvip station, it was completely black. It was nighttime, and a fog was there. And my Gurudev didn't know where the Devananda Gaudiya Math was. He'd never been to Navadvip before. But then he heard someone calling his name on the platform. Tiwari Lal, because that was his family name. And it was Srila Vamana Maharaj carrying a lantern. And he met him there and brought him back to, because Srila Bhaktivedanta Keshav Maharaj had told Srila Vamana Maharaj, Srila Tiwari Lal Narayan Maharaj is coming tonight on this train, even though no one had told him. And he met him on the station like that. Many mystical things manifested amongst the Vaishnavas at that time. But Srila Trivikrama Maharaj was a very powerful, potent personality. And certainly during the parikramas we would perform, even in his very advanced age, he would come with us from, I can remember him coming in 95, 96, 97, he would come then. He was much younger then, and he would always bring a bag full of medications. He would always be handing out homeopathic and Ayurvedic cures. Because the devotees on parikrama, they'd always get stomachache or headache or fever or something, and he would be like a doctor. And when he wasn't doing that, he was stitching kurtas. He would make his kurtas himself with stitches, and he'd make these hats, and he'd make sewing, stitching. And he was always very completely direct with us. He would never compromise on his words at all, and very erudite. And he would speak beautifully, beautiful Harikatha. And then sometimes Srila Vamana Maharaj would come, not as often as Srila Trivikrama Maharaj would come. And then he would be so potent, just sitting on the podium with my Gurudev, and just his potency, you could sense he was just so strong a personality. And when he spoke limited amount, but it was so powerful what he spoke. And he didn't interact so much with the devotees, but he would interact just by glances, Srila Vamana Maharaj. But Srila Trivikrama Maharaj was very, easily accessible. He would be talking to lots of people, and very, very sweet soul. In the end, Srila Trivikrama Maharaj, he told us that he himself, he didn't have any disciples. Because they decided that Srila Vamana Maharaj would be the only one to initiate. And it was only later on, when all the Western devotees came to Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj, that Srila Vamana Maharaj instructed, now you should initiate all these Western devotees. You have brought them, you can initiate them. So that's when Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj, in about 96, 95, 96, began initiating. But Srila Trivikrama Maharaj never began initiating. He had one sevak who was with him, and on the parikramas, he used to travel in a Maruti van, just himself with his sevak. And he'd come to all the places. And every time he sat down, he would just start crying. Every time he sat down, wherever we sat, if it was Sanatan Goswami's, Bhajan Kutia, Pavan Sarova, Nandagaon, Varshana, Sanket, Kamyavan, any place, he would just sit and be so immersed in the pastime, just tears and tears and tears would just come out of his eyes. And he could hardly check himself. When he was given the microphone to speak, he just spent his whole time wiping his tears away. This is such a soft-hearted personality and so immersed in the pastimes. This is the nature of Bhaktivedanta Srila Trivikrama Maharaj. And he said one time, very beautifully, he said, when I leave this world, I want to leave this world unknown and, what was it? Unknown and alone. I want to leave this world alone and unknown. Just alone, like that, without lots of people with him, you know, glorification of him. And actually in Shiligiri, I think that's the place called? Shiligiri?
Siliguri.
Yeah.
Siliguri.
Shiliguri. North of Navadvip.
Yeah.
That's where he had a small mutt, and that's where he left his work. But when Srila Vamana Maharaj left this world, my Gurudev immediately went across, left the parikrama, went across and served Srila Vamana Maharaj. He had so much nishta for Bhaktivedanta Vamana Goswami Maharaj. And then on that day, today, I think it was maybe 2 or 3 years later, Srila Bhaktivedanta Trivikrama Maharaja left on the same day. So they both left on the same day in the middle of Kartik, like this, like now. And we were all expecting my Gurudev to also leave the following or the next year or the next year on the same day, the three of them leaving on the same day. So I can remember in 2009, we were all holding our breath, expecting my Gurudev to suddenly leave his body. But my Gurudev, he cheated us all. He left on the appearance day of Srila Bhaktivedanta Vamana Maharaj. That's how much honor he had for Srila Bhaktivedanta Maharaj. So these stalwart Vaishnavas, when we hear about their activities and we see the extent of their efforts to please their beloved Guru, always, always, all of them would be stressing and emphasizing Guru Nishta, Guru Nishta. They had given their lives absolutely fully to the service of their Gurus. This was all they had in their hearts, was to please their Guru Maharajas. So this was their mood, and they exemplified this in so many different ways, in their publishing, in their preaching, in their supporting the mission of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. So today we are very blessed to remembering both of these personalities, Srila Bhaktivedanta Vamana Goswami Maharaj and Srila Bhaktivedanta Trivikrama Maharaj. We are most thankful that these personalities have been sent into this world. These are not ordinary personalities. It's not an ordinary personality who comes to the mutt when he's 8.5 years old and fully embraces the philosophy completely and serves for his entire life. This is not an ordinary person. So Srila Bhaktivedanta Vamana Maharaj was certainly of that caliber. And today he's still so much respected in Bengal, Srila Bhaktivedanta Vamana Goswami Maharaj. He never had any type of difficulty or anything of that sort. He was always very ekantika, completely focused on encouraging the devotees into their bhajan and with their sevas. So we are lucky we're blessed to glorify these people at this point in our parikrama and reflect and remember the nature of these Vaishnava qualities, Vaishnava Atar, these qualities of these great Vaishnavas. The other day we were glorifying Srila Bhakti Kusum Smaran Maharaj. Same principle of complete humility, complete dedication, complete tolerance. So this is the moods that the devotees today want to emulate. We want to follow in their footsteps. They've laid the most wonderful example for behavior in this world, in the Vaishnava world. So Srila Bhaktivedanta Vamana Goswami Maharaj ki jai, Srila Bhaktivedanta Srila Trivikrama Maharaj Goswami ki jai. Gold Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. So now we'll come to our Damodarastakam. And we can remember while we're reading this Damodarastakam that Srila Trivikrama Maharaj and Srila Vamana Maharaj, of course, were so immersed in the same Damodarastakam, in the same moods during the month of Kartik every single year. Not in my pocket, no. Who hasn't got one? Downstairs. So we're reading through verse 5, and we've come from this pivotal verse 4, Varam Deva Moksham Namokshav Adimva. And we've come through to this point now where Satyabrat Muni, the intensity and greed, his lobha, of his desire has come to its surface, and he just wants to see the beautiful face of that Bala Gopal. Previously, he wanted to see the whole form of Bala Gopal in his heart. Now, it's increased, his ecstasy has increased, and he just wants to see the sweet face of Bala Gopal. So it's a distinction, showing us the escalation, the increased bliss from hearing these verses. These verses were not necessarily all spoken at the same time. There's a period of time between the verses. It's not that just you hear one verse and then you go straight to the next conception, there can be years and years in between each verses, be manifestation of them. But there's actually lifetimes of progress between each verse to come to the next verse, to come to the next stage. It's not that just because we're up to verse 5, then all of a sudden we've understood this totally. It will take time to absorb and amalgamate it properly. So we've come to page 109. So the last thing we were reading about was, I'll read a little bit of the last part. We were reading about Vatsalya Prem. Oh, we were talking about how Mother Yashoda, in her Vatsalya Prem, would never, in her dreams, want to change her mood of Vatsalya Prem. She is completely, fully satisfied. It's who she is. This identity, this Staibhav of Vatsalya Prem. This is who Mother Yashoda is. Even though she might momentarily consider, well, she can't even consider that Krishna went to the forest. The last thing we were saying, that Kundalata had suggested that all these scratch marks had come from Krishna performing rasa at night. And Mother Yashoda chastised her. How can that possibly be? My son, he's still breastfeeding. He can't even speak properly. And you're saying he goes and performs Rasa Leela. It completely not even enter her consciousness. So this Staibhav is something that is utterly satisfying. It's all embracing by the personality who is experiencing that Staibhav. So Mother Yashoda is completely fixed in Vatsalya Bhav. Never, there's not a mood of wanting to upgrade or something like that. It doesn't even come into the consciousness. So this was the last thing we were discussing. And now we come to the second paragraph in 109. The devotee will hanker for a particular rasa according to his own eternal mood. Srila Sanatana Goswami presents Srila Satyabrat Muni as a perfect example of this, because he's going from mood to mood to mood. He starts off in Dasya, he moves to Sakya, he comes into Vatsalya, and ultimately he's going to go to Madhurya. So we see this transition going on. According to his own mood, Srila Satyabrat Muni is trying to awaken within his own heart the bhav of one of Krishna's eternal ragatmika jan by performing sadhan bhajan under their guidance. This has been the focus point in this commentary, that we must be under the guidance of the ragatmika gan, of the Brijbasis. All the conclusions, Tishtem Braje Tanuragi Janugami. Rupa Goswami is saying repeatedly, again and again, one must follow in the wake of the residents of Vrindavan, who are all Rag Atmika Vaishnavas, are Atmika devotees, Ragatmikas, we say. They don't have a designation of Vaishnava, they're just Ragatmika. According to their own mood, Srila Satyabrat Muni is trying to awaken within his own heart. Yes, I just read that. Following in the footsteps of Sri Satyabrat Muni, a sadhak should think, if earrings such as only gold, which are only gold, can kiss the cheeks of Sri Krishna, then why can't I? Certainly I will also do this. With this yearning, he should endeavor to attain his goal with the conviction that he does not need any other benediction. Such endeavor is called abhideya. Abhideya means the means, the method to attain the sadhya. And Rupa Goswami is the Abhideya Acharya. The sadhya is the prayojan, that's Raghunath Das. And the sambandha is Sanatana Goswami. So this Abhideya, the method, because he's already stated his claim in the previous verse, this Varam Deva Moksham. He's already said he doesn't want this. And now this is his focus, what he does want, with such intention. So the sadhak must aspire to craft his own desire very, very clearly in his heart, what he wants and how he wants to attain it. That's called the Abhideya. How are we going to attain this? Yes, we're hearing about so many nice things. How are you going to attain it? What is the method you're going to perform to attain it? What is the method that we're hearing by the sadhaks? Seva sadhak rupena, siddha rupena chatrahi. Tat bhav lipsana karya. Tat bhav, what's the last one? You don't know it. No one's up. Brajalokanashrata. Yes, to follow again in the footsteps of the Brijabasis. This is our, and that has to be cultivated. It's not just going to happen by itself. It won't just drop out of the sky. We have to be attentive to the different acharyas who are speaking specifically on these topics if we want to go in that direction. And then we will catch that speciality. There was a personality called Bhakti Jiva Janardhan Goswami, and he was very rasik personality, and he would only speak on these topics, and anyone who came in contact with him and heard those topics could become attracted to this path. My Gurudev is the same. So we want to be very specific. We've spoken before. What sort of association do we want? Do you remember the expression? Swajatya Snigdha Ashraya. Swajatya means the same mood. Yes, I want to be a Palyadasi of Shrimati Radhika. Swajatya, Snigdha, those personalities who are affectionate to us. Snigdha means affection. And Ashraya, we have the feeling they are senior to us. This is the association we must seek. If we're always looking at the external aspect, how is that going to awaken the inner reality of our spiritual personality? If we're always running, doing the external aspects, if we're not giving ourselves sufficient time to introspect, to reflect, to meditate, to contemplate, if we don't give and by doing that, it's very difficult. No one said it's easy. And all kinds of previous Purva Sanskars are going to have to be confronted. Your various associations we've had for the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years, all those impressions are going to rise in the consciousness and chatter to us. So how are we going to purify those previous impressions and reinstate the real impression of this Braja Prem? It takes focus, it takes effort, it takes concentration, chesta, endeavor, and then only the Kripa will come. But it's not going to happen by magic. It's not, oh, I will live in Vrindavan, jibba jabba, chant a bit of Hare Krishna, and then all of a sudden my Swarup, my Siddhadeha will manifest. It's not going to be like that. We have to diligently, like we've just described, the personality of Srila Bhaktivedanta Vamana Goswami Maharaj. What sort of diligence did he have in his life? What sort of soberness did he show to the world? I can remember looking in his horn-rimmed glasses through to his eyes, and it was just like so deep in another dimension altogether. Just so powerful. So we are aspiring in that direction. it requires proper abhideya, proper guidance, isn't it? How else is it going to happen? It won't happen by itself. If we just keep chasing our tails around the world, here and there and here and there and this and that, so many different things, how is this focus going to manifest? It won't. Actually, what we do, we run away. Most of the time we run away from ourselves. Our true self is so potent and powerful that often I don't want to confront him, my real spiritual identity. I'd rather be distracted and just jump for something else, not think about it. It's too much of a big thing to think about it, you know? But ultimately, it has to be faced. I said before, we need courage on this path, deep courage. Because certainly when you start this introspection and reflection and chanting significantly, you can attain this easily, simply by following Mahaprabhu's desire to chant 64 rounds a day. It's not impossible to do. It's not something so far away from any of us. We can just cultivate this, because it's that mood that's going to reduce the intoxication of the Mayic energy. It's that mood of addressing that Mayic energy and becoming sober. The Mayic energy is intoxicating with so much enjoyment for the eyes, for the sense of touch, for the taste, for the tongue, for sounds, beautiful sounds, etc. So much pleasure is there for the material senses. It checks us from entering internally. Doesn't it? Is it a fact or not? Huh?
Yes.
When he at last attains his own eternal constitutional mood of service in one of the 5 rasas, then he will attain the ultimate goal and the stage of prayojan. So from abhideya to prayojan. Whose prem is stronger? Mother Yashoda's prem for her darling son is certainly stronger than his prem for her, than Krishna's prem for her. Because we said at the very first verse, Mother Yashoda catches Krishna. And the devotee must actually learn to run faster than Krishna if he wants to catch Krishna. That's an amazing appreciation. That takes us out of the baby mentality. Many times we sit in this baby mentality that yes, Krishna will just do it all for me. But where is my determination? Where is my love, lobha, greed for him? Where is that? It'll come if we attempt it. Once we attempt, I can remember in my own personal life when I began chanting more, and I had many services to do. And just so simply, I was in the Krishna Balaram temple in Vrindavan. Somehow or other, Krishna just covered everything without any interruption, without any problem. Everything was suddenly just taken care of. And it wasn't just like, oh, he's some crazy sitting in his room just chanting all day or something like that. Because we have our external profile that we, need to maintain to some degree, etc. It's there, right? It's part of our lives, So how to reconcile that and not disturb the social environment around you, because that will just reflect back on you becoming disturbed. If you decide to be spending more and more time chanting, etc. We have to, actually it's quite simple. If you go to bed early, this is the first point of it. It's going to bed early, and people can't do it. I said it a million times, but they don't seem to be able to do it. I mean, after 7:30, 8 o'clock, what else is there to do in just take some entertainment, some chattering. Really and truly, the body is tired by that time. And if you take rest then, you can probably get up 2:30, 3 o'clock. And if you start chanting then, you can probably complete that lak by 9:30 and still do all your various activities in the world. Quite easily. We've done it. I used to do many japa retreats. And so many devotees came, and they actually found such nectar in connecting with a larger amount of chanting in their life, because it sobers the material illusion. It brings it down. First of all, that's the first thing. And then if you continue, then it starts to take you into these topics. Then you start to craft and carefully see your focus. Where am I going? How am I going to connect with Srimati Radhika? Possibly, I'm so unqualified. I have no qualification whatsoever. But still I do it. And wait for the mercy of Guru to manifest. If any devotee hears the pastimes of Mother Yashoda binding Krishna with her praying and of her kissing his lotus face again and again, a longing will enter his heart. If I follow in the footsteps of Mother Yashoda, perhaps I will also be able to kiss the lotus face of her darling boy. So this is a mood of Vatsalya prem. But who kisses Sri Krishna's face the most? More than anyone else, Sri Radhika drinks the nectar of Sri Krishna's lotus face by kissing it again and again. And what's that dynamic? She doesn't even think she's done it at all. They complain in Gopi Geet, oh, you've just given us a tiny little drop, we're dying. You have to give us more. Actually, they've kissed so many times, but the nature of that is that they don't feel that they've had enough. They haven't even started. At the beginning of this Astakam, Sri Satyabrat Muni was praying in the mood of Dasyaras. Now in this verse, his prayers are imbued with a desire to enter the mood of Vatsalya Ras. May that supremely charming lotus face, which is kissed again and again by Mother Yashoda, manifest within my heart forever. In the same way, every sadhak will initially consider himself to be the servant of Sri Krishna in a general sense. Jivara Sarup Hoy Krishnera Nityadas. This is the beginning of our Staibhav. Our Staibhav is fixed. What is fixed? That I am an eternal servant of Krishna. That is absolutely fixed. But what type of servant of Krishna I am? That is going to be influenced by the association I hunger for and crave for and get inspired to take. That association is going to strengthen my identity, my eternal identity. His prayers are imbued with a desire to enter the mood of Vatsalya Ras. May that supremely charming lotus face, which is kissed again and again by Mother Yashoda, manifest within my heart forever. Forever. In the same way, every sadhak will initially consider himself to be the servant of Sri Krishna in a general sense. However, by performing intimate service and by acquiring Sri Bhagavan's mercy, he will gradually progress, and a deep longing to perform service under the guidance of one of Sri Krishna's eternal associates, Anugatya Mayi Seva, will begin to manifest within his heart. That's the process. You practice seriously and sufficiently, and the desire to open more doors into the nature of Braja Prem, Braja Ras. That means we need guidance of someone who is already through that door. They can guide us, because otherwise it's going to be a figment of our imagination. That is useless. That is completely to be rejected. We're not looking to imagine these things. This is something that's coming from the spiritual side. We want to first of all connect with our spiritual identity. My first identity is Jivara Sarup Hoy Krishnera Nityadas. I am an eternal servant of Krishna. Every footstep I walk, I'm thinking, can I please Krishna? Like we have our beautiful Jai Prabhu here. He's serving in so many ways all the time. He never stops. This is because he's a very mature senior devotee. And he has the quality of humility simultaneously. So this indicates this is someone that I can follow and see this inspiration. So we want association. But if someone is just always running out and making a big splash in the world and making thousands of people come and so on, is that going to bring you to an internal place of reflection? Actually, it'll make you feel famous in the material world. People will honor you and acclaim to you. And what will happen? Pratishta will come. And who will purify that pratishta? Who is there who's going to be able to purify that? It's very difficult to go that route. So I might stop here tonight, and we can continue from the 3 dots tomorrow. That'll be very clear. Oh, tomorrow is Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, his Tirobhava. So right on the heels of Srila Bhaktivedanta Vamana Maharaja and Srila Trivikrama Maharaja. What can we say that everyone doesn't know about Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada? His glories have been broadcast so strongly, especially in the Western worlds. But we'll certainly endeavor to glorify him to the best of our ability tomorrow. So we'll see. So Sri Damodarastakam ki jai. Vaishnav Atta ki jai. Vaishnav Atta means the qualities of the Vaishnavas. The qualities of the Vaishnavas we are seeking. Specific qualities. If we're on this path that is being recommended here by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Rag Mag Bhakti Loke Karite Prajan. He's come to give us Raganuga Bhakti. This is what Sachinandan Gaurahari has come to benedict the world with. It's accessible to us. We must have absolute nishta in this, absolute faith. Yes, I can achieve it because Mahaprabhu has said it's possible. I am the most fallen, more fallen than anyone, actually. And we are all fallen in this most fallen age, and yet we have the highest prospect. I've described before how in the age of Satya Yuga, people were so qualified to perform tapasya, sitting in rings of fire in the middle of summer, etc., freezing cold rivers. But what could they attain? Vaikuntanath, Parameshwara, Paramatma. They couldn't attain Brajendranandan Shah. And as the ages come down, it seems like the attainment, as we become more and more fallen. Why is that? Because when you're fallen, you're not so proud. And this humility is the principal quality. And to feel completely like bereft is helpful on this path. But if you're feeling, oh yes, I've done this and I've done that and look at me, then you've got a brick wall in front of you. Can't do anything. So humility. I've said again and again, Trinada pi sunichena. And I suggested the other day, we make a point in our daily schedule. How many hours in the day do we have? We have 24 hours, actually. You know, and in that time, even just brushing your teeth, you might just before you start doing that, saying, Trinada pi sunichena. Some point in the day, say this verse, at least once. Because what happens when we become proud? When we become proud, then we start looking at other people as if they're not so qualified and as good as us. What's that called? Envy. So pride and envy are synonymous. And that's most despicable. We can't move on that track. So, Damanarastakam ki jai. Okay. 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 All the devotees are invited tomorrow to come to Govinda Seva Ashram here in Radhikund, because we'll have a feast in honor of Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. I'm inviting everybody. Okay, thank you, Jai. Go Premanandi. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhu Vevacha, Patitanam Pavnibhyo Vaishnave Namo Namaha.